All right. Well, welcome, Nina Manolson, to This is 53 Freedom Through Passions. I wanted to welcome you and also to say thank you for spending some time with me this morning, this early morning for me. It's about 6:30 and I know it's about 7:30 for
Yep.
you. So, two women who are up and at 'em and going for it. You and I met on Instagram, believe it or not. Actually, I'm finding like my whole community is starting to really grow just through Instagram, which is a wonderful thing. When I sort of went through your Instagram profile, I thought, oh my God, this is a woman who I want to have on my
Hmm.
show. So thank you for agreeing for being on the show. I'm going to let you give yourself the introduction and whatnot. So let's just get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about your backstory and get right into your business. And I'm going to hand the floor over to you. So give us a little bit of a backstory, Nina.
Lynette, it is a pleasure to be here with you. And my backstory is I really knew what having a war with one's own body was all about. So my work is body peace, literally trademarked body peace, because that's the essence of what I always wanted. Because I unfortunately knew body hate so well. I knew body war so
Mhm.
well. I was on my first diet when I was 9 years old. I spent most of my first, you know, decades of my life in the struggle of, oh, should I have eaten that? Oh, I can't believe I ate that. I ate the whole thing. I didn't mean to eat the whole thing. I'm bad that I did that. What diet should I start tomorrow? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I broke that diet. It's on Thursday. I just started on Monday. I'm going to start again tomorrow. Nope, I'll start again on Monday. Nope, I'll start again tomorrow. Like the mental gymnastics around food and weight and what I looked like and comparing myself to other women was toxic. It was painful. It got
Mhm.
so bad that I literally said to somebody, I'm bored with my own brain. It was
Wow.
absolutely dull because all it was obsessing about food and body. And I was like, you know what? This should not be life. I have more
Mhm.
important things to do. Other people have more important things to do. We are so much more than the number on the scale. That does not define our worth. So, in that process, I became a therapist. So, right before I was a therapist, I was actually a body worker. So, I worked with women every day on a massage table, and I was hearing women's stories. And sure enough, I heard myself reflected in them. They were all saying, oh, when I lose another 5 pounds, when I lose another 15 pounds, oh, I'm feeling really great about myself. I lost 20 pounds, but I'm really concerned about gaining it back because I did that last year. So all the time I was hearing women's stories about their weight, how they felt about their body, but also the other things that we were carrying in our bodies. I heard their trauma.
Mhm.
I heard their sense of like just not being in their body. I would ask, there was one client that I had for many, many years, and I put my hands on her and I said, what do you feel? And she said, is this a trick question? And I was like, no, like really, what do you feel in your body? She was like, I feel your hands on my body. I was like, do you have any sensation inside? Right? That's what we call interoceptive awareness. What do I feel inside? That's embodiment. And she was like, no.
Mhm.
And happens. That
Wow.
happens to many, many women because we are pulled out of our body from the world. We're told you should look this way, you should feel this way, you should not feel this way. And we stop tuning in. And so it was work like that that took me back to get my master's degree in counseling psychology, became a therapist, but I was still doing the struggling. And then I had kids, and I was like, you know what? I am not bringing them down this road because it was my mom with
Mhm.
the best intentions ever who took me to Weight Watchers when I was 9 years old, which was the beginning of the slippery slope of diet hell. So I was like, this is going to be different. And then I was like, I'm going to learn nutrition. I'm going to learn all there is about nutrition. So I went back to school for nutrition. And all I learned there really was that each of us have bio individuality. Each of us has a different body that needs different things. And that what to eat or what not to eat isn't the answer either. And that it's all these things, right? It's our life, what we eat, how we feel about ourselves, what happened in our past. Did someone comment about our body? Were we body shamed? Because we live in this crazy fat phobic culture. And so it was all of those pieces together. It was like a slow building jigsaw puzzle, my work, that
Hmm.
finally I was like, oh my gosh, this is how we solve for what our culture has done to us, which is to make us feel not at home in our own body. And the solve is not, and now I'm going to have a perfectly thin body forevermore, and it's never, ever, ever going to change or age or do anything different. The solve is actually, how do I have a relationship with my body that is nourishing, that is relaxing to be in? How do I feel at home in my
Hmm.
body? How do I feel vital? How do I feel engaged? How do I feel like I'm really listening to myself and honoring myself? And that's what we want.
Hmm.
And that's what body peace is.
Oh, I love it. So there's so much that you said there that I want to unpack, but I think the number one thing I want to talk about first is just the whole nutritional aspect. So you think, oh, okay, so you're you carry some extra weight, your mom's taking you to Weight Watchers at 9 years old, and then the first thing you went for was this sort of nutritional path, right? Oh, I've
Yeah.
just got to eat better, then everything's going to be okay. But
Hmm.
tell me, when you say like it all came together, I like that analogy, that throughout the years, because you experienced this yourself, and then you went into, got deeper into your schooling and went into therapy and started to understand the cognitive side of things. You realized that all these little things were coming together, and it wasn't just one thing that was
Yeah.
causing this sort of body shame in yourself. So those pieces are, first, we start with nutrition. I get that. That's like the easy thing. That's the first thing. Oh, I'm just going to go on this like all paleo diet or this keto
Hmm.
diet or
Hmm.
whatever. But I think that's what you feel when you're younger. But you talk about being in your 50s, 60s, and 70s
Hmm.
and really still trying to find that peace with your
Yes.
body. Now I think it's a heavier game. I think it's a much more emotional game, just from what you were just saying there. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me, how does your body self-perception, let's use your term, body peace, how does
Hmm.
it evolve over time, not even from a healed state, but just from a different state of mind, of thinking? Like, I think, well, when I look in the mirror, my body definitely doesn't look the same. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gaining a little bit more on the legs
Yeah.
now, and the skin is sagging now, and you're like,
Hmm.
ah! So your whole, but how does that impact you mentally? And I think that I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay. So there's so much in what you said. And I want to pick up
Yeah.
the thread where you started it, which is we want to have an answer. I'm not feeling at home in
Hmm.
my body. So great. Someone who wrote some book said, great, do paleo, do keto, do Weight Watchers, do,
Hmm.
I don't know, my era, Slim Fast, do, I was also of the era of Scarsdale diet, like the millions of different diets. And we want, oh, this is
Hmm.
easy. Okay, I just follow the steps A, B, C, D. And then, ta-da, I'm supposed to feel good in my body. The problem is this, is there actually is no evidence-based diet that solves for long-term weight loss. In fact, 95% of
Hmm.
people who go on diets gain their weight back, if not more weight, in 2 to 5 years. So, clinically proven, the most likely outcome of a diet is weight gain. And this is
Hmm.
a real kicker, disordered eating.
Hmm.
That's what happened for me. So many diets, I was like, should I eat this? Should I not? Now I feel guilty. Now I'm going to restrict. That's all disordered eating. And I'm making a distinction there between an eating disorder, a life threatening eating disorder, versus disordered eating, which many of us have, don't even realize that we're struggling with, which is that obsession that I'm not okay in my body. My body's not right. So, what we
Hmm.
want to be doing is widening our lens beyond the I'm going to fix this with the diet, or I'm going to fix this now in the art day and age with a drug, with a shot,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
I'm not putting anyone down who's choosing that. We can choose whatever we want. We're grown-ups. We have
Mhm.
body autonomy.
Mhm.
You can do whatever you want. You can get plastic surgery. You can get the shots. You can do whatever the heck you want. And whatever the heck
Mhm.
you want, I still want you to feel like it's your body and you are honoring it
Mhm.
and you feel at home and you're not hustling. This is a Brene Brown term. You're not hustling for worthiness. You're not hustling for somebody else's approval, right? One of
Mhm.
the things we do often in our younger years is hustle for approval. Am I good enough? Am I cute enough? Am I thin enough? Because then I will get success, right? I will get promoted. I will get paid more. I will get the mate. I will get the relationship. I will have love and success and money, and I will win if I have the right
Mhm.
body. And it's to go like, wait,
Right.
that is not what it's about. How do we
Mhm.
feel every day when we wake up? Feel like, yes, this is my home. I feel good in my skin. And one of the things you
Mhm.
said is, our bodies are evolving. So the
Mhm.
practice, this is really important. Body piece is a practice, right? Weight loss, we say, great, I'm going to get to this goal weight. Who has ever stayed at that goal weight,
Yeah.
right? We know from the data, 95% of people who
Yeah.
don't, right? There's always that one person people say, oh, she did it and then she stayed. 95% of people don't, right? So if instead
Mhm.
of going for, and then I'll be thin and then all will be well, we go for, I'm going to practice body peace. I'm going to practice self compassion. I'm going to practice body awareness. I'm going to practice embodiment. I'm going to practice listening, learning how to listen to my body and what it is that my body needs. Because guaranteed, your body, my body, doesn't need exactly the same thing as the guy, usually the guy, who wrote the book on the
Mhm.
diet that's the big
Yeah.
bestseller. He doesn't
For women
have
over 50.
he doesn't have the metabolism of a woman over 50 or the emotional baggage of being a
Mhm.
woman in our culture
Mhm. Mhm.
navigating being in a body.
The ups and
It
downs, exactly. How does that, I actually really love what you're saying there, because how is it that when a woman is, and this is maybe my own perception, so,
no, please
please disagree with me
bring it
or whatever,
on.
but I'm thinking, okay, so women over 50, yes, we see a body change, and yes, we can see some different things happening to our bodies, but the same thing happens to men. But why do men seem to
Mhm.
think that they can get away with their changing body without doing anything, but they'll still look at a woman with a changing body and be critical of that. And I see that in some of my close male friends. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, maybe you should look in the mirror yourself a little bit before you sort of start to criticize or dismiss a potential date with a woman because of the way she looks, and you're like, it's like, hello, kettle.
Yes.
And so, like, it's,
Mhm.
why is that?
Yeah,
You talk about, most of these books being from men, and you're right, like all this research has been done, and it's usually a male oriented research. It's a
it is.
fact.
Well, historically, science has been researched on men, and so a lot of
Sure.
it doesn't actually apply in the same
Yeah.
way to women. So that's actually a fact around research science. But to come back to how is it that men get to a place as they age, which is okay, so I'm allowed to have a dad bod, or I'm allowed to have
Yeah.
a have a belly. I'm allowed, and yet I'm still criticizing women because
Hmm.
first of all, I what I wish is that everybody felt truly at home in their body and that nobody was
Hmm.
criticizing anyone else. And where it comes from is women's worth is judged by their
Hmm.
size
Hmm.
forever, forever, as long as we've known, right? from the 50s when a woman was hired in a corporation as an assistant, as a secretary, based on her looks. We have been
Mm-hmm.
judged
100%.
by a
Mm-hmm.
misogynist culture on our worth by how we looked and our size. And many of those men, unfortunately, have not grown out of that absolutely toxic masculinity mindset,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is that your value to me is how cute you are on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
just, it's really icky. It's truly and
It,
and damaging to our
mm-hmm.
culture, because what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing is diminishing people's worth, women's worth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Tell me, I want to step back a little bit, and you were talking about like getting injected with the drug. Let's call out the elephant in the room a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and Ozempic. I'm going to throw it out there. We've seen this big reveal of Oprah. I think you've even got a post
Mm-hmm.
about it, and
Mm-hmm.
sort of analyzing that post. But I do have some friends that are on Ozempic. They're like ecstatic with how they're feeling, whether they sort of gain the weight back or not. But tell me, how is it that some women need to take the drug and some women can, like you talk about our bodies being made up of different compositions and stuff. I mean, I've never really had a problem with weight. Sure, okay, maybe I'd like to have a little more flatter stomach or whatever, or I wish I would gain my weight somewhere else than where I do now. But and then on the other hand, you know other people I know who have had serious problems. I can eat a chocolate cake, they can eat the chocolate cake, and they're going to gain the 5 pounds by tomorrow. So why does what happens in the body that
Mm-hmm.
happens?
Yeah. So we all have different metabolisms.
Hmm.
Absolutely. We all have different metabolisms. Genetics, right? When I was growing
Hmm.
up, I always thought I should be tall and blonde and thin. There's no tall, blonde, and
Hmm.
thin in my family genetics. And there's no possibility
Hmm.
I would ever be tall,
Hmm.
blonde, and thin. And yet,
Hmm.
what did the magazines tell me? I grew up on 17 magazine,
Hmm.
and I was supposed to be
Hmm.
tall and blonde and thin. And so, well, that's not what's
Hmm.
being reflected back in the mirror. So I must be wrong. I better fix it,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Fundamentally, we are completely different. The problem is that our culture says normal is this weight and everything
Hmm.
else is abnormal. That's not true at all. That's not, we
Hmm.
don't look at dogs and go, poodle, you are correct, and mastiff,
Hmm.
you are wrong.
Right. Right.
Dogs
Right.
come in
Right.
different sizes, they come in different shapes, right? So to
Hmm.
expect all humans to conform, and that is actually my biggest issue with the
Hmm.
GLP-1 drugs, which is the Ozempic, Wegovy, all of those, and any kind of intervention that says, you know what, we're going to change your body because your body's not okay. If you want to change your body,
Hmm.
more power to you, whatever you want to do. Again, your choice, your body, your choice.
Hmm.
However, when Oprah, who's a woman of great influence, gets on stage
Hmm.
and says, see, now I have the answer. Now I have solved this
Hmm.
important issue of having a small body. She's brilliant.
Hmm.
She is
Hmm.
successful. She has a beautiful influence in the world, except for continuing to promote this idea that we should be striving to be smaller all the time. And if we're not, our
I
body's
know.
not the project, and we're not working on it, and we're not managing our food or doing something, then we're failing in some way. What would it be like
That's
if we
interesting.
had mhm.
No, sorry. I'm sorry.
What would
What
it
would
be
it be
like if
like?
we had a culture? What would it be like if we had a culture that said, you, however you are, is fantastic and we value you? And there was
Hmm.
no right weight. A lot of the chaos around this would drop away and people would be like, do I want the chocolate cake? I don't want the chocolate cake. Like it wouldn't be
Hmm.
such a big deal because often women have this, should I eat it? Should I not? Should I eat it? Should I not? This whole willpower battle because there's been restriction through their whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was her message? Because we all have seen Oprah yo-yo like throughout the years, thin,
Mhm.
small. I mean, I'll never forget when she ripped off that dress at like season 15 of the Oprah show or something like that, where she ripped off the fat dress and underneath was this skinny jeans, woman. And then as you say, most people will gain it back plus some. So I what I hear from some of the women that I know that are taking Ozempic are that they just feel better in their body from it. And whether, I don't know if it's, I think maybe they started it with the intention of losing weight, obviously, but I think that they feel just better now. I don't know. And what was what was Oprah's like, oh, I finally figured it out. After all these years, I finally
Mhm.
figured it out. What was her story there? What did she say?
I think her main idea was I have been shamed my whole life, which
Hmm.
is true.
Hmm.
She has.
Hmm.
She's been in the public eye. And no one, there are
Hmm.
very few women in the public eye who have been shamed for weight in the way that Oprah has. And her
Hmm.
struggle with feeling at home in her body has been very public. And so
Hmm.
now she's like, yay, I don't have to feel ashamed anymore. Now, my
Hmm.
issue is that changing your body so that you don't have to be ashamed of your body is not the cure
Hmm.
for shame. We're not solving shame
Hmm.
by let's change you, right? It's that's not how it that's not how we heal shame. Let's
Hmm.
heal our own shame about it and feel like yes, my body is fine and the culture has the problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
We as women who struggle to feel at home in our body or whose bodies are different than Joe Schmo or, Joe or Jill Schmo walking down the street,
Hmm.
that that shame is the culture's shame. That's the conversation
Hmm.
that actually needs to change. And what Oprah did, which is where I have the heartbreak, is she said the way to fix that shame, the way to cure that shame, the way to heal that shame is to get to have a small body. I'm like, on so
Hmm.
many levels, if you're somebody who talks about diversity and upholds diversity and says, let's give everybody an equal platform and celebrate diversity, and now you're saying,
Hmm.
well, actually, now I'm better now that I have a small body.
That
I
I'm
have a
tiny.
problem with that.
Exactly.
I do
Hmm.
have a problem with that. Now, do we want, as women who are aging, to feel vital, to feel mobile, to be able to
Hmm.
get down on the floor and up on off if we have grandchildren or we drop something, right? Do we want
Hmm.
to be able to tie our own shoes and walk on the beach? Yes, right? So
Hmm.
when I say, yes, let's be all like any size, I'm not saying,
Hmm.
so whatever, we don't care about our bodies. Of course, we care about our bodies. We live in them. We have to do every
Hmm.
day in them. And in every way that there's evidence that dieting and restricting food and being tight around food is not long lasting, there is tons of
Hmm.
evidence that tells us that actually caring for our body, moving our body, being kind and compassionate towards our body has great outcomes for a feeling of
Hmm.
wellness. So as
Exactly.
we
And
age,
I
we want to step into that.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about those puzzle pieces. I mean, that's you have trademarked the name Body Peace Coach. I love the name of it. I love everything that you're talking about, all these different puzzle pieces that make up this sort of feeling that we think about ourselves, which ultimately I think is, your self-love is what you're referring to. Ultimately, though, when somebody comes to see you, what is usually the first thing that happens? Like, what is the first thing that they want to talk about? Where do you try to go with that person?
Yeah. So often people come and say, I just feel out of control with food, or and
Hmm.
that's sort of one starting point. And I can't do another diet. I've done 500 diets. I know they don't work. But I don't know how to not be binging, not be late night snacking, not be, eating, nibbling all day long. I feel out of control with food. I don't even know. So sometimes people have that starting point. Some people have done
Hmm.
work and they're like, you know what? I don't feel out of control with food, but I'm still hating my body. And
Hmm.
that's sort of a little further down on the body peace path, where women have this sense of, I'm not in the struggle every day. I'm eating what I know really works for me, but I'm looking in the
Hmm.
mirror and I'm trashing myself on a daily basis. I
Hmm.
walk into a room and I
Hmm.
compare myself. And those people
Hmm.
may or may not have struggled with body, with food.
Hmm.
So the people who are coming in the very beginning, the people who are coming at the very beginning and saying, I feel out of control with food, that's where we start. Okay,
Okay.
great. How do we get to a place where you're actually feeding yourself consistently such that there isn't this like, oh my gosh, I'm gone for 6 hours and now I'm starving and now I can't stop eating, right?
Hmm.
Oddly, one
Hmm.
of the things I find myself, it's not so odd to me. I've been doing this work for 30 years, but in the beginning, I was like,
Hmm.
I sort of had a different sense of what I would be talking to women about. And often I'm like, have you eat? I'll get on a call with somebody early in the morning. Have you eaten? I'll get on with
Hmm.
somebody after lunch. Did you get lunch today? So
Hmm.
often women are like, oh, if I eat less, then my body will be
Oh
smaller.
my
And
God.
so then they
Hmm.
skip meals. And then what happens? Starving, blood sugar drop,
Hmm.
crashing. And
Hmm.
then the binge comes, right?
Hmm.
Or I often have women with late night eating. And they're like, no, I ate all day. And then, sun goes down and I put on the TV and then I'm eating. Often,
Hmm.
not always, everybody's different, but often in those cases, we need to talk about emotional eating. We need to talk about how
Hmm.
food becomes a way to soothe our heart and to ease
Right.
the intensity of feelings that often have time to bubble at night. So
Hmm.
that's in the world of women. That's just like a tiny sampler. Every woman is different.
Yeah.
We all have different issues, but that's sort of where I start with women who saying, I'm out of control. I don't know what to do. I'm not taking care of myself. I know I'm not taking care of myself. And I want to, but I'm not going to
Hmm.
go down the path of yet the millionth diet where I know I'll just feel like a failure at the end. So that's some.
Right.
Then the women who have done work, who are like, you know what, I feel like I'm really taking care of myself, but wow, that flap below my belly button that's flapping down is just like blows my mind every time I look in the mirror or sit on the toilet and I see the skin, or my legs have just gotten really like wide, or now my when I wave, my underarms keep waving and I can't get past it, and I just criticize and I don't feel good. And instead of feeling
Hmm.
confident, and these are successful women, the women that I work with are
Hmm.
smart, they're successful, they're capable. And so they know when these thoughts are happening that they're so dissonant to who they want to be in their lives. In those
Hmm.
cases, we need to start really doing the work of what were we taught about our body, and how do we
Hmm.
come into an authentic relationship with our body versus from the lens of what should I see in the mirror, what an acceptable woman's body looks like, what does aging actually look like. So the work
Hmm.
is different at different stages on the body peace path, and it's not just like eat, obviously it's not just eat this, don't eat that. It's very much an inside job. It's very much doing the deep work.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I want to I want to read this quote that you have on your Instagram page. It is by Esther Pearl or Perel, and it's my marriage to my body. And I want to talk a little bit about that because you just talked a little bit about like all the sort of entry points of coming to see you, and then especially as we age, the puzzle pieces start to change a little bit. So
Hmm.
and it just reminded me of this, where most of us are going to have two or three marriages or committed relationships in our life, and some of us are going to do it with the same person. And I had to read that a couple of times. And
Hmm.
so I want you to sort of unpack that a little bit. You unpack it in your
And the
carousel on
po
your Instagram, but
Yeah.
yeah, on the post. But
Oh my
please
gosh.
unpack it a little.
So the first
Yeah,
time I saw Esther Perel say that, I was like, "Wait," exactly like you. I was like, "Wait, say that again," because she
yeah,
started with the first time I saw I just
yeah.
heard the first sentence, right?
I was thinking
Most of
divorce.
us
Exactly.
right,
Yeah,
I was like, "Most of us are gonna have 2 or 3 committed relationships," and I was like, "Really? Wait, does that mean?"
yeah.
And then she was like, "And some of that," because I also know that she's been married for many, many years. And then she went on to say, "And for some of us, it'll be with the same person." Right? And
Right.
then I was like, that is so true. When I think about my relationship with my husband, we've been married almost 30 years, and who we were 30 years ago is really different, and the relationship we had 30 years ago, and then the relationship you have with a mate if you have kids together, right? That's a whole other
Hmm.
relationship. And now with grown kids, that's a whole other relationship. And that paradigm really fit for me around our relationship with our body, right?
Hmm.
And when we're young and we're learning how to walk, well, that's a relationship, right? What does this body do? Oh, it walks. Oh gosh, it falls down too. Oh no, no, I can get back up, right? That's its own
Hmm.
relationship of wonder. And
Hmm.
then we go through puberty. Wait, my body's doing what? What? It's doing,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
wants what? Right? That's a whole other
Hmm.
level of relationship, right? So each developmental stage in our life has a relationship. Now, an interesting thing about women is in our culture, we talk a lot about puberty. We talk a lot about childbirth. We're starting a little bit, or childbearing years. We're starting a little bit to talk about infertility as another stage of life for developmental stage for women. And then we're just starting now to talk about menopause. And what do we not talk about? Aging. Oh, you're getting,
Hmm.
oh, menopause. It's got all this stuff attached to it. It's a whole developmental stage. Absolutely. It's very important to learn about menopause, to be able to navigate menopause. And then you're postmenopause, whoop, we don't talk about you anymore. That
Hmm.
relationship with our body is continuing to evolve. And in my opinion, it is the most powerful relationship with our body ever, because we are experienced. We have lived in this body for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. There's knowledge, there is wisdom. It's one of the reasons I teach a class called Body, Peace, and Aging. Time to
Hmm.
claim this age and
Hmm.
stage, because there is, in some ways, more pressure from our culture,
Hmm.
right? We've got models like Jane Fonda and Martha Stewart who are like, oh, I'm 80 and I've had lots of work done, and to look younger is the way to be older, which I don't agree with.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
and we also have an opportunity, because a weird thing happens when we get older, which is the culture pays a little less attention to us. And that is
Hmm.
an incredible window of power, because
Hmm.
suddenly, I wish it never needed to happen, but suddenly we aren't trying to conform. We're sort of out of the window of trying to hustle to be the cutest person in the room.
Hmm.
Okay, so now I'm older and people aren't going to pay any as much attention to me. And so now what do I want? What do I want? How do I want to
Hmm.
be? What is my power and
Hmm.
agency at this age? How do I want to feel? And the women that I see really claim this time, it's it's as it's as varied as clouds in the sky. It's incredible
Hmm.
because what they choose to do to feel at home in their body, some people get very active. Some people get
Hmm.
incredibly creative. Some people, start to just get into their sexuality in a whole other way. The way women
Hmm.
choose to embody is very different and beautiful. And we want
Hmm.
that.
I love that analogy, like the relationship with your body, and the way that you sort of broke down that quote from Esther was really good because it helped me sort of visualize that the relationship with your body is no different than the relationships you have with your friends and family, and things change and evolve and get complicated sometimes. And it's a really good analogy to help you remember that the relationship isn't going to be always the same. And so I guess it's almost like, what is the conversation you're having with yourself at those
Yes,
different points? And the same conversations that you would have with your friends or family when something is not going right in that relationship. So
totally.
yeah, I really like that. I really like that. I think to me that was really helpful. Um, I don't know if I body shame myself. I'm just trying to, like, I was just trying to think, I wonder if
Mm-hmm.
I body shame myself. I think I'm hard on myself because I want to achieve some certain things or maintain a certain way. But one thing you did say, which was, as we get older, we're not seen as much. And that is a sort of a known fact. It's been stated a lot out there where once you get into your 50s, we become invisible, and I heard terms like that. And I also actually, speaking of Oprah, she had also had an interview once where, if you depend on your beauty when you're younger, what's going to happen to you when you get
Mm-hmm.
older? And that has always stuck with me because, again, that's that relationship with yourself, with the
Yeah.
image that, and how do you adjust with that? And and I think that in some cases, as we get older, women can become shrinking violets. Like you talked about embracing it, using it as a way to move away from conformity and just go and live your life now. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're no longer under the veil kind of thing. You can take the veil off and you can do whatever the frig you want
Yes.
kind of thing. But
Yes.
others may think, well, now I'm becoming a shrinking violet, and they might go inward. Like, do you ever have you had clients where they've started to go more inward as
Yeah.
they get older,
Yeah.
and then, maybe lose their self-confidence, and
Yeah.
maybe start not caring anymore about their bodies
Mm-hmm.
and just overindulging, or whatever the case may be. What do you say to those people when
So,
they
first of
come and,
all,
and talk to you?
if they come, that means they want something different, right? If they're coming to talk to
That's
me, they want
right.
something different. They're saying, you know
Hmm.
what? It doesn't work for me. This isn't how I want, this isn't who I know myself to be. And I don't
Hmm.
know how to, usually the words are reclaim myself. And it's not
Hmm.
about reclaiming a past self, it's about claiming your future self. So then it becomes,
Hmm.
what's important? What are your values, right? Often one of the first questions I ask women are, what are your goals in this work? What do you want?
Hmm.
And women's goals are very different. And so often somebody who's in that place says, I want to feel vital. I want to feel
Hmm.
energetic. I want to feel alive. I want to feel involved. And
Hmm.
then we start looking at where are the places, right? Let's move from
Hmm.
strength. Where are the places that you do feel engaged and involved? What are the times of the day where you do sit and actually make yourself food instead of like, oh, it's
Hmm.
just me. Let me just, you know, stand at the pantry and grab a few things, right? Where are
Hmm.
those places and how do we build from there? How do we build a
Hmm.
relationship, right? Again, this next type of relationship with self that is truly in in every way feels like you're allying with yourself instead of being at in a
Mhm.
war, right? So often our
Mhm.
women are like, well, I'm trying to battle my weight. Well, that's battles are not fun, right? I'm trying
Yeah.
to anti-age. Well, being anti things
Mhm.
also is exhausting and not fun, right? What if we
Mhm.
allied? What if we partnered with? What if we came right next to ourselves and said, oh, honey, how can I help you today? What can I do?
Right.
But we were never
Mhm.
taught those kinds of relationships with ourselves. We were taught the battle. We were taught the warring. We were
Exactly.
taught the what I call body management. So I have a
Mhm.
free masterclass on my website. It's called Body Peace Masterclass. And in it, I go into some of these different stages of relationships we can have with our body. And one of them,
Mhm.
the first stage is body hate and body shame, right? Which so many women are
Mhm.
in. And then what happens is we go, you know what? I don't want to be in that relationship anymore. I know the kind of relationship I want to be in. I want to be I want to be in control. So then they move to body management. Well, body management is that place that 95% people fail at. But we get into body management. I'm going to manage my body. I'm going to be in control. I'm going to get some rules and I'm going to follow it. And that is the relationship that most women have learned. But that
Mhm.
relationship doesn't last into
It's too
old
hard.
age.
Yeah.
It's exhausting,
Yeah.
it's hard, and the reality
Mhm.
is our body is going to age and change and we do not have full control. And not even just aging, right? I don't know, you get on a bike with all great intentions and a car opens their door and you've got a car accident. You've got a bike accident, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
things happen. COVID happened,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just, oh, I'm going to get old, but illness happens, injury happens. And how do we
Mhm.
navigate that in a way that's really supportive to ourselves, where we're really on our side? Because that's what
Mhm.
allows us to be our best advocates.
Exactly. And I think from again, my interpretation of what you're saying is to learn how to ebb and flow as you go versus trying to solve for that particular moment or those moments up to that particular moment in time because you know that things are going to change moving forward. It could be a lot of different things too, like especially, as we get in our 50s, 60s, lots of events start to happen. Divorce, kids leaving,
Yes.
death, sick parents, and it's just it actually can become a bit of a tornado, a hurricane of different things. And so learning how to ebb and flow, I think is what you're saying there. So you mentioned that, okay, a couple of things. One, I do know you have a body peace and aging workshop, but then you said you had a master class, body peace master class. Are those two different things?
They
Or
are.
maybe
So the
talk a little bit about the,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So the masterclass is available all the time on my website, ninamanolson.com
Okay.
or bodypeacewithnina.com. It's just that's a little easier to
Hmm.
spell than Manolson. So on my website, there's always the masterclass. The Body Peace and Aging program is running in mid-May of 2024 into June. And that is a one-time program that's very powerful and really engaging and just the thing that there's so many things to say about it, but really the two things that I would want people to know about it is it's really about your relationship with your body at this age and stage. And the women who are in these programs are stellar. That's one of the
Hmm.
great gifts of my life is the women that I
Hmm.
work with. Again, as I said, smart, capable, engaged, deep, authentic. It's fun to be with these women.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's sort of mind-blowing because the way that we can be compassionate with one another is often the way we cannot do it for ourselves. And
Hmm.
so it becomes
Hmm.
modeled for us. And we step into a way of being that feels better.
Awesome. So the masterclass is available all the time. It's sort of gives you an opportunity to download something that, and then you can sort of get a little taste of what it would be like to work with you.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if that's something that is of interest, you could take it to the next level and join this workshop, which runs from May to the end of June, which is mid-May to the end of June. So it's a 6-week program then?
It's actually 4 weeks, so it's sort of mid-May,
4 weeks.
mid-June.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
other thing, depending if how people engage, sort of I give tools so people can engage in different ways. If you're a visual learner and an auditory learner, then
Hmm.
the masterclass or the body, peace, and aging is great for you. If you're a writer, a journaler,
Hmm.
and a reader, I have a journal, a practicing body peace journal. And in it are 20 questions that I would ask if you were sitting in my office about your
Right.
relationship with your body.
Okay.
And so that's available also on my website for free.
On your website. Okay, amazing. So I know that in our pre-call, you told me that you are also you love to write poetry. I got you to give me a sample right hot off the spot, and you were just like whipped one out. So I'm going to do the same now. I think you might know that I was going to ask you this anyway. But some of the poetry, just to sort of feed off of the journaling side of things, it kind of makes me think that way, like journaling and really sort of getting in tune with who you are and this self love. And, you know, self love is so all encompassing, but man, if you could actually get it to a place that you're feeling great and confident, I mean, I think it just removes all fear and doubt in anything that you're doing moving forward. So do you have a poem that you'd like to leave us with, Nina?
Yeah, absolutely. So this poem is called She Let Herself Go. He
Hmm.
said, "You've let yourself go." Yes, I have let myself go. I stopped wearing Spanx. I stopped counting macros, points, and calories. I said no to the Botox. I let the gray show. The truth is, I did let myself go. I let myself relax. I let go of expectations. I've let myself be at home in my skin. I let myself have pleasure. I let myself feel and rage. I let myself listen in. I let myself not care about what everyone else thinks. I let myself free.
That poem is amazing. That is the same poem that you did on our pre-call, and I still get chills listening to it because the feeling that I get from that is just, oh, yes, now I can just let myself, my shoulders drop. And
Mhm.
that's that feeling of nonconformity and just being who you want to be. And
Yes.
I love the work you're doing. I think it's important. Yeah, I have a sister who struggled with weight all of her life, and every time I talk to her about it, it's never been the diet that has made her feel better. It's been about the mindset shift that she's made with
Mm.
her body that has made her feel better. And then she manages the relationship, I guess,
Mhm.
in different certain ways that make her feel good. And
Yeah.
she's, exactly. And I think, like you said, uh, it's constant work, just like anything that we're working on
Yeah.
for ourselves. We don't just fix it overnight and then never have to deal with it again. So thank
No.
you for doing such important work. I think a lot of people need to hear your message. Thank you for taking the
Mm.
time today. Thank you for sharing your poetry. And yeah, I'll put all of the links to your website and particularly help sort of promote your workshop that's happening mid-May. And yeah, so thanks, Nina. I really appreciate your
That is
vulnerability and your
my
time.
pleasure. Totally my pleasure and an absolute delight to be with you.
Thank you.